What's going on, boy? Jesus Christ. What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, typology stuff. Today we are talking a bit about INFJs and how they do what they do. If not the why, we'll need to work out the why. We're at 30 seconds. It is so fucking cold. I'm dressed like a Freddy Krueger inspired killer. I got the buck on me as I should. INFJs repulse me. We hate INFJs on this channel. Now, for people familiar with the channel, we just ended the sociopath arc properly now. And one of the things we learned from this sociopath investigation was the fact, in terms of behavior, especially in adulthood, type is more important than sociopathy is. ASPD is more like an amplifier. And regarding INFJs, they all use the same tools even if their reasoning is different, or the lengths they'll go to are different. But they can all go to the same lengths, and they all use the same tools. Now, we've talked about a little bit about the fact that ASPD INFJ woman controlled my mind, and I really think this is mind control. Like a spell was cast. Because while I was in it, I knew how goddamn stupid this was, but I couldn't do anything about it. But once the matching phrases had been spoken, there was a complete and total internal shift from under control to free. And I think when you're dealing with INFJs, there will always be an element of that, but it had never been that pronounced, like CIA MK Ultra shit. And I know this is a call to arms for the vaginal who hurt you brigade, but I've been sitting on an example, waiting to deploy it. This is the time. A dude ASPD INFJ broke down his process of doing intentionally what I've been describing here with the intention to harm. Now, there is this prettier idea of making the world stronger through pain, and I kind of agree with it, but this is like the equivalent of Sentinelese people developing super nukes and talking about wanting to instruct people and grow them through pain. Can't be having that. And I think you can hear my buttons hitting my desk. It sounds like a skeleton dancing around when I'm talking. Anyway, I detest these people. Let's think about how they do what they do. And maybe in the future we'll work on the why. But the how is most important. No, the how is important. We'll need to figure out what can be done about it later, but let's start with the how. Now, INFJs complain regularly about people coming up to them and talking to them and getting very familiar with them very quickly. And this does happen a lot, but what they're doing here also is mentally separating themselves from accountability. INFJs never mention the ways they make themselves approachable or signal to be approached. And I'm sure they'll say they don't do this, or they do it unconsciously. They love that one. Anything to feed their eternal victim conqueror complex. So, first and foremost, you need to notice when you feel like you could approach someone, or an approach would be welcomed, or when it feels like someone is trying to get you to approach them. The moment that happens, your guard needs to go up. And it's so unfortunate because when this happens, this isn't always a sign of an INFJ, but INFJs are so good at polluting anything decent or positive or natural. You need to be on guard for anything emotionally or socially positive. And this is where it starts. Now, the next thing they'll do is they will begin to get you to open up. They'll make you feel comfortable, they'll make you feel understood, and most importantly, they will make you feel seen for what you are. But not really for what you are. More like for what you wish people would see you as. And always in an affirming way. And I can't tell if INFJs actually can see into you or not. Because it's like a Schrodinger's cat situation with whether or not they see you. These days, I'm leaning toward they can't, but they can make you feel like they can. Because what they're doing, they're like machines that read the smallest energies and expressions. They know exactly what you want, and they know how to provide it for you in the way you want it. And I think they do this automatically. And I think it's automatic because they hate you first. You're bothering them even though they lured you into their space. And the key thing to remember is they have no personal or emotional connection to any of the words coming out of their mouths or the actions they take. Everything they do is an automatic response to what you are signaling you want them to give you. Assume you never know what an INFJ is thinking, in spite of any and all indications, because they don't know what they're thinking. And INFJs exist to cause social havoc and emotional suffering. Now, as they are prompting you to open up, despising you all the while and feeling you're taking advantage of them all the while, even as they prompt you to do this, invade your personal emotional space to get you to do this, this is where the mind control begins. Deus Ex, one of the Morpheus lines, people crave judgment. Judgment is what makes civilization possible. People want to be seen and they want to be judged, preferably positively. Now, what INFJs do is they hijack that urge, right? Because they make you feel seen and they judge you positively. And they get you to open up all the way so they can judge you positively all the way, even as they despise you inside. And I've noticed two tendencies in INFJs, and one that dude mentioned specifically in target selection, which is great, by the way. I love when, this is another thing INFJs like, or the ASPD INFJs like doing. They like attributing all of their, quotes, worst characteristics to ASPD, but this is just shit INFJs do. No, the other ASPDs, the other sociopaths, were pretty cool and pleasant on the whole. These terrible behaviors don't come from a disorder, they come from who you are. Anyway, on the one hand, INFJs will be plugged into a normal or socially acceptable group, even if the socially acceptable group plays itself as edgy, and then they will target isolated outsiders, like vampires targeting the homeless. So if you have a hard time fitting in other words, if you have a hard time feeling seen and being judged positively, you are a prime target. Another thing to keep in mind. The next time you, outsider, meet a mysterious person who sees you in the way you want to be seen, don't be happy, be suspicious. That is a lovely instinct INFJs are alive to make people feel instead of anything positive. Or productive. And I think what they do, or what they're doing, is they're cultivating your taste for a feeling of social acceptance, or a feeling of place, a feeling of purpose, a feeling of a brighter future. Civilization type feelings. And then they have you hooked. This is like, this is psi running, is what it is. They have hijacked your better nature wanting to fit in instinct. And I think with most of them, most of the time, the best way to deal with that or to undo it or to prevent it is to keep your fuck society muscles strong. Keep yourself able to do things that will piss people off, that will alienate people, that will upset people. It keeps your social, single celled organism immune system strong. The problem is if you don't catch it early, it can go terminal. Like what this most recent INFJ did with me, like what it sounds like this dude INFJ does with women. It's the difference between being close to a bear trap and being in it. There isn't a rational way to describe how fucked you are once they have you. It makes no sense. There is zero rationality to it. But it is so powerful, you can't do anything about it. It's like they've stolen your future from you. There is not a reason to do anything unless it involves your receiving their attention or affirmation. It's an actual addiction. They hijack this judgment instinct to get you addicted to them. Now, fortunately, there seem to be ways to break this addiction instantly, or this spell, but that require if you're already hooked, that requires support from the person who hooked you, which I am thankful to have received, but I hate that it even got to that point, and I hate that it was like pulling teeth to get my freedom papers, which is one of the reasons, even if this is unconscious or accidental or pathological behavior, don't treat it like it is. Treat it like it is conscious and malicious, because if you don't, they'll get you. The fact it's supposedly unconscious and accidental is part of their game. And it's a game because they benefit from you like parasites while they have you. And they're completely to blame. These people who supposedly have such keen insights on people are not aware of what they're doing to people, have no idea the way they lure people in. Okay, if you've studied INFJs, dealt with them closely, how many times in your life has an INFJ lured you closer and closer and closer to them only to slam the door in your face? Not necessarily an INFJ door slam, but an exaggerated example, but not by much. We're having dinner together, dressed nice, pleasant, close conversation, and in the middle of it, now you tell me you have a boyfriend. I mean, I'm agitated because of how that affects me. You're supposed to be these super social awareness people. How do you think that affects him? Oh my god. What are you doing? INFJs are the induce murder people. That's one of the reasons when I hear about INFJs and their crazy exes, I mean, I already wouldn't have sympathy, but I really don't have sympathy. Because some of you are doing this intentionally. Others might be doing it unintentionally, but if you are, you're doing it the exact same way the intentional person is doing it. I have no sympathy. If you are such socially and emotionally enlightened empaths, or non-empaths, just manipulator geniuses, if this is what you are, this is the way you self-conceptualize, you should know or be able to recognize what you're doing and know why you shouldn't be doing that. And the answer is consequences. And it's to the point you have to wonder, is it even about a crazy or not crazy thing. What they're doing is awful, yes, but once you understand the extent to which they can get into someone's mind, even a sane person, you're you are boating in deep, dangerous waters there. And for the non-INFJs, you don't want to be anywhere near that. You don't want to play any role in any of that. And for the INFJs, don't pull sirens call shit if you aren't prepared for all callers. And they hate people coming up to them so much. They hate, and they'll say it's, even when they push away, people still come closer. Speaking from personal experience now, people come closer to INFJs who claim they are pushing away because they'll usually be pushing away with the equivalent of one finger pushing them away, a dainty little push, while acting in all these background fashions to ridiculous degrees. The I have you people are such liars that you say you have no idea what you're doing. You're sick. You're demonic. I am glad you're such a small percentage of the population. Everything else says come forward. 2 degrees that are so ridiculous, it almost feels like a joke saying you people don't know what you're doing. Because they are like vampires, they do have these little hidden rules if you look. As in, if they push away with one dainty little finger and you still come forward, then they fulfilled their end of whatever demonic bargain they struck, saying that they have to push away a little bit. And then they're free to do whatever they want. They're evil people. And they hate the people they do this to so much. The narrative they build, and you won't get the full story, by the way, unless either you're the other part of whatever equation they'll be narrativizing, or you've seen it firsthand and can analyze it with a non-demon point of view. That's another thing they do, this information game. They need people not to be aware of what's going on, at least the full picture. Because if anyone ever got the full picture, their self-image would be doomed, which is all they really care about. Which is also why one of the fastest ways to get INFJ door slammed, which they act like is this long, last resort, given so many chances thing. No, you can get door slammed instantly if you indicate to them you do have the full picture about anything, and you actually do. They'll get rid of you immediately. Anyway, they are taking advantage of your desire to fit in and feel like a good person or be a good person, and they're using that to control you. And you really don't want to get hooked. Now, because I don't want to make another video about INFJs, I think the way you get unhooked is for them to banish the mists for you. For them to be very clear about whatever they're thinking or whatever is going on. Because, yes, they're controlling you with their sight, with their judgment. They're also controlling you with hope. And wherever there are things you don't know, there are spaces you can hope. And they are good at making you want to hope in all of these dark and unseen corners. You need to get them to shine the light on the full picture on these dark corners for you, so there is no room to hope. But INFJs are basically fundamentally opposed to this, because doing this is eliminating all of their power. They are enemies of light and truth. Clarity piss at a good moment that was clarifying. Why did I find it so funny? It's so cold today, and we're talking about INFJs. twofold, but they're both hell related. Either hell has frozen over, or INFJs are, or exist, are spawned from the deepest ring of hell. Anyway, I suppose the other way to break the spell in a less satisfying manner, or a more painful manner, is to get them to treat you aggressively, because that is another form of destroying hope. And I'm willing to bet you, during that arc we talked about this, not one INFJ would say an ugly thing about me. I think that's because saying ugly things about people either destroys or salts the fields and prevents a spell from growing. They are not doing you a kindness by refusing to attack you. They are protecting their power over you or their potential to have power over you. An INFJ is at their most powerful when they are inconsistently kind and dismissive of you, not aggressive toward you. Oh, and that's another thing. It feels like they feed off the idea they could do positive things. As if the idea of doing something kind is as good as or better than actually doing something kind. Which is very good for them because it means they don't actually have to do very much. But, like any drug, there are diminishing returns. So, another reason you need to be careful is they will get off on the idea of doing all these positive things for you as they are luring you in and hating you, like they are doing you a favor, and then they will pull back and start looking elsewhere. So be careful about anyone who love bombs you or positivity bombs you. Be very careful about anyone who is trying to get you to open up in a positive way or approves of you when you do open up. And it's, again, you hear me saying these things. I hear myself saying them. It's sick that these people make you need to be careful and cautious about what should be the finest parts of life, emotional intimacy, but they just ruin it. They ruin everything. I suppose all you can do is trust Venus will guide Cupid's arrow when it's supposed to be your time, or a good enough time. A love and truth conquer all idea. But, God, it doesn't need to be that imperiled. But that's what INFJs do. With their manipulations, they make even the simplest, happiest parts of life imperiled. And while they do it, while they're lying to you and tricking you and jerking you around emotionally, they hate you and they believe they are doing you a favor. And I think one of their goals, another part of this, is if they can get away with it while leaving you with a positive impression, like they did actually do you a favor, then that is total victory. Total defeat would be a knife in the stomach. Now, you don't want to be part of either of those, which is why you need to stay on guard, even though it's terrible, even though it isn't fair, even if the world would be better without serpents. You need to protect yourself from their mind control so they can't force you to be in either camp. And you should trust someone will stick a knife in their gut one day, as long as they continue to do what they do. I mean, I'm sure some will get away with it, but when you're playing with power like that, you are asking to be killed. 99 out of 100 people you do this to might be normal people or sane people, or even losers, people you can get a total victory on. But what happens when I don't even know why I'm having this conversation. It's not like it's going to prevent any of them from doing this. This is more for us, for human beings, for allies of truth and of the light. Someone will Luigi them. Whether or not they are as clear minded as Luigi, that's a different story. In as basic a summary as possible, whenever you meet anyone and you go to sleep excited at the prospect of seeing tomorrow with them in your life, you are being MK Ultra'd. Anyone who's actually good for you will be kind of fucking annoying. And that's another thing, a tactic I've developed for avoiding this shit. Ask yourself, when you feel drawn to somebody or you feel like someone is maybe getting their hooks a little too deep into you, ask yourself what it is you want from them. Or better yet, what you need from them. On the need side, that should be nothing. And if you can remind yourself that you need nothing from them, part of your urge to let them control you will go away. Then think about what it is you want from them. Can you get that somewhere else? Or can you broaden your supply of it so you could get it from a few somewhere else's? The answer to that will usually be yes. And when it is yes, then you can make broadening your supplies or your sources your goal and where you will place your focus. Now, what happens if you don't need anything from them and you don't really want anything from them either, but you still want them on some level for no rational or even placeable reason? What is that? That is death. That is doomedness. That is the end. You are done. Unless you luck out, unless you're willing to take drastic measures, or unless you're willing to deal with long-term pain. Because they will wound you permanently, irreparably. But if nothing else, you need to know where you stand so you can do something about it. Instead of watching yourself fly your airplane straight into the ground because some fucker you don't even care about, but at the same time care about totally, has control over you. They are living demons. Oh, and probably the fastest way to get a standard INFJ who's trying to mind control you to react aggressively toward you is to, well, as I said, be true in the negative about their self-image and have the full picture. They will react negatively and immediately, and usually that'll be enough to break your spell. And if it isn't enough to break your spell, then at least you have no... If they've actually door slammed you, you'll know on some level there is no hope lurking out in the ether, and it'll still be a long recovery, but you can start recovering. Because the door is closed and they closed it. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.